So for the Tennessee Titans in 2022, I expected a bit of a downslide, but not too big of a downslide because there's still some talent there. But they made a major offseason trade with trading away their top receiver in AJ Brown, and they're trying to replace him with rookie receiver Treylon Burks. And I thought that was going to be a very, very interesting and bold move to make because, trading away AJ Brown and trying to replace him, it was not going to be an easy feat. But nonetheless, I still expected the Titans to win a very, actually not even win a very weak AFC South. I had that wrong there because I expected the Colts to do that. But that trade, going back to that trade, it hurt them very badly. It ended up hurting them pretty badly throughout the season because, they won their games in uninspiring fashion and they looked poised to win the division at one point. They got smashed real hard against real competition like the Bills, the Eagles. Like, they did not look good. So, they were 7-3 at one point. They had a strong lead on the division, but injuries just crept up. They worsened the stale play on offense. And one of those injuries were to quarterback Ryan Tannehill. And Tennessee would eventually lose out on the AFC South to the Jaguars in that Week 18 game. And, that was it for the Tennessee Titans 2022 season. They went 7-10 in that very weak division. And, you have questions about this team. It's a pretty stale team, to be exact. And there were questions on whether or not they'd keep Ryan Tannehill. They'd even keep Derrick Henry because they tried to trade him too in the offseason. So a lot of questions abound for this team. And one of my goal for this team this season is, if you're going to try to keep the band around for one last go around is, you got to salvage at least one last playoff run with Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. Because, you tried to get rid of both of them this past offseason, and it didn't work. So some of my team needs for the Tennessee Titans this past offseason include rebuilding the offensive line because it was really bad. It was really bad. Not only because of the injuries, but the age just started to show, man. Either it was the age or the injuries, or they just did not play great. They also needed to get more wide receivers to go alongside Treylon Burks because obviously there's Robert Woods was kind of disappointing, and there's no one else after him. And then they had to bolster up the secondary because of also injuries as well. So some of the things that happened during the offseason for the Tennessee Titans, they fired the offensive coordinator, Todd Downing, because, he was one of the key reasons why the Titans offense was so one-dimensional. Why there's so many checkdowns in the offense. Why they relied so much on Derrick Henry. The offense was pretty one-dimensional because of Todd Downing. So they promoted passing game coordinator Tim Kelly to the position. And, I'm no expert, but we'll see how it plays out, how the play calling is different. But, we'll see how it plays out. And then a front office move to be sorts. John Robinson got replaced. He got fired late in the season last year. He got replaced by former 49ers executive Rand Carthon to be their new general manager. And Rand Carthon went to work in the offseason pretty early on. They released aging center Ben Jones early in the offseason. And then they also released tackle Taylor Lewan, who later went on to the Kansas City Chiefs. Then, so two key members of the offensive line were gone, then and there. So some other key free agency losses for the Tennessee Titans. Guard Nate Davis went to the Chicago Bears, so the offensive line continues to get weaker for the Titans. And then on defense, linebacker David Long went to the Miami Dolphins, and then edge rusher Bud Dupree went to the Falcons, although he was recovering from an ACL injury. They also released Robert Woods, who later on went on to the Houston Texans. And then they also released Randy Bullock, their kicker. So who did they add? Who they add to try and cover up these losses? They at least added Sean Murphy Bunting from the Tampa Bay Bucks. So a key part of that Super Bowl offense a couple years ago for defense. Sorry, for the Tampa Bay Bucks. They also added Andrew Dillard from the Philadelphia Eagles, a tackle who didn't get a lot of playing time, but when he played, he's actually pretty solid for them. Edge rusher Arden Key from the Jaguars, so not a bad move there. Linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair from the 49ers. So this could end up being a pretty good move for the Titans, because Al-Shaair was one of the key linebackers in that 49ers defense alongside Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. So Al-Shaair could be a big factor in the key adrenaline rush the Titans need. And then in the draft, they went to work with the offensive line and tackle Peter Skoronski from Northwestern. So the Titans at least went to work addressing the problem that was the offensive line. It's just a matter of, they still need help in the interior. And then another surprising move here. Quarterback Will Levis. They picked another quarterback. I didn't know why they picked Will Levis from Kentucky when they had Malik Willis. Why? I don't get it, because based on one very poor start in Kansas City, like, you knew what you were getting in Malik Willis. You knew he wasn't ready last year. He was a pretty raw prospect, so I'm not sure why he went out and got another one. Like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. So anyway, they used a second round pick on that. They also used the running back in Ty J. Spears from Tulane, so just in case Derrick Henry gets hurt. And then tight end Josh Wiley from Cincinnati, so certainly could use a tight end there. So looking at the Tennessee Titans, offseason overall, my biggest takeaway from it is that, they try to trade away Ryan Tannehill, or, you can't release him. And then you try to trade away Derrick Henry, but that didn't work either. I just look at this whole thing as that it could look like that the Titans could be done with them afterwards, because, for as a magical run that the Titans had with Ryan Tannehill in 2019, and, they got to the top seed in 2021, it's just like, it feels like you reached that ceiling with Tannehill in pretty much every other year. It's like, he can only take you so far that, you can't really go anywhere else with them. And then, like, Tennessee, he tried with Malik Willis, but I don't know. I still, like, for as much as they rave on his improvement in the offseason, like, I just feel like drafting Will Levis seems like, it doesn't work. Like, they said they basically admitted that Malik Willis didn't work. So, and I blame a lot of that on coaching and the roster issues, but we'll see. We'll see. They still have Malik Willis on the roster. They still have Will Levis there. It's like, why did you draft Will Levis in the first place if you knew Malik Willis is going to improve, to their eyes at least? So, we'll see what happens, but I'm looking at this as if they're preparing to get rid of Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry after this season, but they better make the most of it. They better make the most of it for both of those guys. For Derrick Henry, I don't know, man. I still think he's a very good running back, but the problem is, it's just like, maybe there's concern that he is starting to not be as healthy as he once was, or not be as effective as he once was. But, I blame a good amount of that on the offensive line, and maybe Derrick Henry's, power. But either way, the fact that they were trying to trade him in the offseason is just like kind of concerning. And then looking at their defense, they didn't do a whole lot other than adding corner Sean Murphy-Bunting and Azeez Al-Shaair. Sure, you have Caleb Farley there still at corner, but it's just like he hasn't been available for most of the time for them. So he's looking kind of a bust because he can't stay healthy. So, the Titans defense is still looking very concerning. So, looking at some of the key potential games of 2023, week 3, you go to Cleveland to take on the Browns and Deshaun Watson and that pretty much improved team. So you don't know what you're going to expect from that Browns team when you go up there. And then right back when you go home in week 4, you take on Joe Burrow. Oh, and if he plays, if he's ready to go by then, I imagine he will with that calf strain, and the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's another tough out. And then week 5, you go to Indianapolis to take on the Colts, another division game. And yeah, it's a lot of tough outs for the Tennessee Titans. And then week 11, much later on, you go to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars, the division leaders from last year, and Joe Burrow. So, yeah, I really wonder if this is going to be the last dance for both Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. You know, like I said, it's like for Tannehill, they added Malik Willis last year. They added Will Levis this year for whatever reason. So it's like, have they reached their ceiling with Ryan Tannehill as quarterback? And then for Derrick Henry, it's like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure they want to keep him around? Like, because, well, they don't trust him to be healthy for whatever reason. Like, I don't know. And then at some point, does Malik Willis or Will Levis, it sounds confusing, do they enter the picture at some point this season? Either because Ryan Tannehill gets injured or he doesn't perform as well or very poorly. It's going to be interesting how this quarterback situation pans out because, well, they have 3 now and they drafted 2 in the last 2 years, including this year. So it's going to be interesting. So for the Titans, you know, they're not outright terrible right now because they still have some talent on this roster. But I think they're one step closer to a rebuild considering the offseason actions in regards to Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry and the moves made around them. I do think the Titans will win a couple of games since they're playing both the rebuilding Colts and the Texans. They might split some wins there. They're also playing the rebuilding Panthers and the Bucks in the NFC South. But I do think they're going to have some tougher outs against some very tough opponents that they won't be able to match up with because, well, if the offense is still one-dimensional under their new offensive coordinator, then, yeah, it's pretty much going to be the same song and dance as 2022. Yeah, it's just Derrick Henry, and that's it. So I expect this team to basically match the record 7-10, if not worse than that. So for the Titans, yeah, enjoy it while it lasts, I guess. If this really is going to be the last dance for Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry down in Nashville.